Jesus, I can't work like this.
Go to work.
I can't work like this shit.
You sit on the toilet, don't you? Use that as your meditation.
Not my wife, not your wife, nor anybody listening
Welcome
to
to
this podcast.
Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
I am Rob. I am also an alcoholic.
That's
we are not
it.
professionals.
That's the end of it, Rob.
Good. Thank God. However, you will hear.
In fact, I'm over it. Hi, Rob.
Hey, buddy.
I am not going another step until you brag about your son.
I don't brag.
Come on. Don't be like that.
Why? Well, you already sent it out to.
But you brag, asshole. Brag about your son a little bit.
I'll brag about my son.
Come on.
My son is 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
He loves the Lord. He's a hard worker. He's got great character. He really can't lie. He starts crying if he does. He's a stud on the mat. He just won a belt.
Yeah,
so you notice I went through character before.
I know.
That's why, I mean, regardless of what he does on or off the mat, I'm proud of who he is. Much more than what he does. But he's a fucking stud.
Looking at you standing next to him yesterday, I was like, yep, that's a proud daddy right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was fun. That was fun for me to see that picture when you sent it to me. I was sitting in the middle of the meeting that you didn't go to. I was sitting in the middle of the meeting and I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, that's going on Instagram. You know, we don't put a whole lot of pictures of you up there. So when I get an opportunity,
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, but you're a handsome little prick. So I put you up on there every once in a while.
Well, my wife thinks so.
Hey,
yes.
We are number 52 right here, baby. This one right here is going to drop on July. Oh, crap. I knew I was going to do that. I think it's July 3rd. Is it July 3rd? Which is,
I don't know. I'm guessing.
No, we dropped our first one last year on July 7th.
Okay.
This one's going to drop on July 9th. No, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. You're right. It's the 2nd. Yeah, Wednesday.
Second. Yeah.
So we were both wrong.
Whatever.
We're both wrong. So we had my number 2, we had my number 1, and now we're going to do our wives. This is something that you and I have spoke about since the very beginning.
2 wives. We should open that chapter. That chapter fucking sucks.
To the wives.
To the wives.
We'll take over and everyone will want to watch us, not them.
And you want to introduce your wife? Then I'll introduce mine.
This is Bonnie, my wife of 20, how many years, babe?
5.
25 years. Well, 25 years married.
Or 4. I don't remember.
5.
2001.
24.
There you go.
25 years together, 24 years married.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
So this is my lovely wife, Miss Katie. You've heard us talk about both of them multiple times, but this is my pretty wife, Katie. We started dating her junior year and my senior year, 1988, and we got married May 18th, 1991. 34 years.
That'd be my freshman year in high school.
Hi, baby.
That's why it seems so crazy to hear you're married in 2001.
Yeah.
We were married 10 years. We've gone through some shit already.
We got married as kids.
That's the year I graduated, 91.
91? Yeah, we got married as children. We were little.
Were not. I mean,
we were children.
Okay.
Good grief.
No,
yes,
you were.
We were young.
She probably wasn't.
Oh, I was juvenile delinquent still.
2.5 months after she turned 18.
So, yeah, but that was back in the 20s. Sorry, Mom.
So what were you,
Sorry, Mom. I love you.
It was in the 60s.
Were you 22? She was 21?
Whole different.
I was.
My mom got married
91. I was 21.
Yeah. See. No, you were almost 21. You were going to be 21.
Yeah, I'm May 18th, and my birthday's June 18th. So I got married a month before I turned 21. Yeah. Wasn't even legal to drink.
No.
No, 21.
Yeah, he was 20.
Really?
And then turned 21 in June.
Young buck.
Yeah, told you we were kids.
Yeah.
We were kids, and we had kids at kids. Yeah, I mean, it was rough. But you know what? Here's the thing.
But look where we are today.
I'm going to tell you right now.
And
I told you guys when I fell in love with that girl, right?
Oh,
she sat across from me
in the hospital.
In the hospital, wearing a mini skirt, and I saw her white panties.
It was the 80s.
I was like,
Thank
yep,
goodness I had
that's my
on.
girl right there. I'm marrying her. She was trying to be discreet, but I'm a perv, so I had no problem. I had no problem. What?
Well, the reason why you and I are both here with our wives, Dr. Bob's Nightmare says, for some reason, we alcoholics seem to have the gift of picking out the world's finest women.
Hell yeah.
Why they should be subjected to the tortures we inflict upon them, I cannot explain. You guys are crazy to put up with the shit we've done.
Crazy.
Hold on.
You act like we knew going into it.
Yeah, I know.
That's what it was going to be.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Katie had glimpses of it in high school for me. I mean.
You've known me since I was 6 or 5.
And you didn't know any better to run?
She was hoping I'd turn out like my dad. Let's be honest.
I've heard these stories.
Oh, I loved that man.
Yeah, that's funny.
I love Bobby.
Isn't that funny? You say you've known each other since you were 6, and I was 7 when we moved from Los Angeles here, and he lived around the corner, but I really didn't know him. I didn't know
She has
who
heard
he
the
was.
rumors.
Yeah.
We
Shepherd-
moved from Los Angeles when I was
3,
and they were the first family that we met when we came here. Him and my brother started wrestling together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Who's your brother?
Jason Holbrook.
He's older than you?
He's my age.
His age.
Oh, his name sounds super familiar. I probably knew him. Probably picked on him because I was a prick in high school.
I think you guys went to school with my cousin.
Rodney. Well, yeah, Rodney Butler.
Yeah.
Oh, we had talked about that.
Yeah. But I went to school with the best one of all, and that was Tammy.
She's listening. That's why he says that shit.
I loved her.
Oh.
She was my little pocket midget. Loved her to death. Loved her to death. Well, you know what? We're dancing around the subject here. So, we went through, when we first started this, we said there's 2 things we want to do. One was have Jason Allen on. That was like the very first thing. And, oh, no, hold on. Did I already talk about SoCal
Just say
Kate?
Jason A.
Jason A. He don't care. Have I already told our listeners about SoCal Kate yet?
No.
So since August, I'm a horrible on social media, right? Horrible. So I read
just a step above me.
Right. And I say that very often. So I have been, one of the things I was read somewhere or something too is tag people that you follow, right? Just tag people. There's lady down in, she's in
Laguna.
out of Orange, and her name, she was on Instagram as SoCal Cat, and I've been following her, and because she's sober for 9 years, got an amazing story. She just sits there. Some of her posts are funnier than shit. She's awesome. So I've been tagging her in almost every post that we do, right?
What does that mean when you tag somebody?
So like when I tag your picture that I put on Instagram yesterday, I just tag her in it. It's like tag Katie, I tagged Logan, tagged Bonnie, I tagged everybody I wanted to see it go directly.
Okay.
But somebody like her, she's got to accept my friendship, accept me before she can even see anything. So I started sending almost everything. I started tagging her, about 4 or 5 other people as well, right? And but this is the one I wanted because she's got I love her story because she's so much. Her Instagram posts are funnier and shit, right? She makes fun of herself, and that's what I like, right? That's what's fun. And so anyways, I kept tagging. Finally, on Friday morning, she just types back, "Hello there." Well, I didn't see it till yesterday morning. Didn't go onto our Instagram post until after our page, until after I did the thing for Logan and you. And I was like, oh my God, I was like a little schoolboy again. I'm like, oh my God, she texted me back. I was like a little kid. And then I just wrote back because it had been 2 days since she sent it. So I texted back or DM'd her back. And I'm like watching it going, come on, wait for the response. And like 30 minutes later, she responded back. We had a great conversation. She's agreed to come on the podcast
in person,
okay. Right? Because I was talking to her about just doing it over Zoom, and she's like, "No, I'd rather do podcast in person." And I'm like,
"Where's she's
she's from Orange, right? Okay. Her it's called Laguna Shores Recovery Center. So she has 2 of them. She's got a recovery center for animals, so she's extremely involved in that. And like I said, I've read part of her story, the little bit that they put on Instagram. But man, am I excited to get her. She's agreed to come down here. She's going to come here. And I talked to Mary last night about her doing being a birthday speaker at Primary, and then coming here on Saturday and recording.
Oh, and that'd be cool.
I know. I hope it works out. Like I said, I want to cross my fingers and pray. And, she's agreed to it.
Let God handle it.
She's like, whatever. She's just so super excited. I talked, it went from talking back and forth on Instagram. And then she sent me her phone number. Then it was texting back and forth. And then she just called me. She's like, I'm over this. So she just called me. It was awesome. I'm excited. Yeah. So anyways, I want to get that out there. So 52 weeks. This is number 52. And we got the wives on here, and I'm so excited to go through this. I've been beat up with my daughters for a couple weeks. What are you looking at?
Well, there's one guy I want to reach out to as well. His name is James Hart, 54 from Denver, right?
Okay.
been listening to this. And I mean,
nice.
Well, you sent that to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I should have included a small backstory.
Right.
James Hart, 54 years old from Denver, 15 months of recovery. What I like about what he said was, but I hit my head when I jumped into AA pool program head first.
Yep.
You know, he's in it now.
Right.
So James, glad you listened.
Right. I mean, God has worked a lot through this program, right? I mean, I've got not just Catherine, but there's multiple people that all right about 48 really started reaching out and started agreeing to come onto the podcast. So I'm excited because we've worked through a lot of our group that we kind of hang out with, right? There's still a lot more out there that, you know, we got Paul that's agreed to come on, but having these outside people, getting these other stories. Too. Yep. I talked to her yesterday.
Oh, she was kind of on the fence.
No, she ain't letting her go anywhere. She's going.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I reeled her in yesterday with
your charm?
With my charm.
Fuck. How much money did you bribe her with?
Anyway, so I'm dancing around the subject here. So I'm going to let Rob.
I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah, you are. You're going to start with, how do you want to start this? We're going to start with Bonnie?
Yeah.
Bonnie, I got a question for you.
Yes.
When did you know he was an alcoholic?
I can answer that.
No, you're not. I asked Bonnie.
Okay, go ahead.
It's actually funny. I had a very hard time in the beginning believing that he was an alcoholic. When Tammy came over to tell me how bad my husband looked and all this stuff, kind of made me mad. I was raised by alcoholics. I've been beat by alcoholics. Wow. There's no way my husband, he does not hit me. Right. He does not talk down to me. He doesn't abuse our kids.
Yeah.
You know, he comes home, he drinks.
Wakes up and goes back to work.
There you go. He's never missed a day of work. We've never missed a paycheck.
Right.
You know, that doesn't happen with alcoholics.
Right.
So I think the second week into Maynard's, when I went up there and I got to see him, I realized
holy shit
how bad he was. He was so bad. Just the eye color, the skin color, the swollen. He always looks like kind of
shiny, like
greasy, I guess you'd say. Just did not. But I guess since I was with him every day, I didn't really notice it. And then when I saw him, I hadn't seen him for 2 weeks and I couldn't believe it.
So leading up to that, we talked about, you said, you know, you grew up with alcoholics and blah, blah, you know, that whole thing, not blah, blah, blah. That's horrible. But you grew up with, you did. You grew up with it. You were judging his alcoholism based on what your description, your description or your visualization of an alcoholic was.
Yes.
You know, and I think so many people do the same thing, right? Well, he's not living on the street. He's not stealing anything. He's never had a DUI. He's never lost a job. He's never lost a paycheck. He just drinks too much, you know?
All these yets,
right? Oh,
I did have a DUI, but it was before her.
Right. But during that period of time, and, you know, Katie, I'll let Katie talk too. You know, there was other signs. My health was going, you know, Katie will talk about that pretty soon.
Yeah, we got a good story on that one.
Well, tell it. That's what we're here for.
It was Thanksgiving. It was a year before you went to treatment.
No, not quite that.
Okay. But it was Thanksgiving.
About 7 months before I went.
He woke up. He was in a lot of pain, doubled over, just
puking up blood.
Yeah. He would not go to the hospital for me. I was trying to get him to go to the hospital. He went to go to the hospital.
But what did I have you go do? I was laying on the bathroom floor and I would send her to the freezer where the Jack Daniels was because I was puking and burning.
Really?
So she would run to the freezer, give me ice cold Jack Daniels. I would shoot it, keep puking. Go ahead.
But he wouldn't let me take him to the hospital. So I called Steve.
You called Butch and Butch called Steve.
Well, It was Steve that came over and we got him to the, they forget what the second A stands for, but we got to the hospital and they're running all these tests on him. And it ended up being his doctor was one of Logan's very good friend's dads. So that was a little embarrassing, but he starts telling us how bad his liver is, that it's like 3 times its normal size and all this stuff. And, you know, because of drinking, I remember he asked Rob, do you have a friend that can walk your daughter down the aisle because you'll never make it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when we got home, Rob explained to me that it wasn't alcohol. It was ageless male, a vitamin he'd been taking that caused all these problems. And if he just quits taking the vitamin, he'll be just fine. So.
Sorry. Oh my God. That's one I had not heard yet, Rob.
Well, because at this time, I also started having like panic attacks, anxiety. which I'd never felt in my life. I didn't know what these were. And so I go, well.
He woke me up telling me he was having a heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
I'm having a heart attack. So I took him to the hospital and.
That was in sobriety. That was early sobriety. Yeah, just getting down. That was crazy.
And the anxiety attacks? Mm-hmm. I lived that. My 2002, 2001, right around there, they had to rush me to the hospital in an ambulance because they thought I was having a heart attack at work, right? They rushed me to the hospital. That was the first time I didn't know what the hell it was at. I was just, face was just hot. I felt like my whole chest was just an elephant was sitting on top of me. And they just basically came in and gave me some medicine and said, sir, you're having what we call an anxiety attack.
They told me the same thing. Like, what the?
I had no idea what the hell it was. And then that was my introduction to anxiety. And, it got worse after that. And that's what I did for years. That's why I drank that anxiety would go stupid. And I was on Xanax and drinking and none of it would calm that. None of it was calming that.
This is my first experience with it.
It was brutal. Yeah.
So what else? What other good times did we have? Oh, hold on. When I was in the hospital, because this is the first time I had went to, she was going to drink with me because she doesn't drink. It gives her heartburn. So the only time I've seen her drunk was at her bachelorette party when she came home.
Oh, that was bad.
That was awesome.
That was so bad. I tried to fight the neighbors.
but that's when times were good. That's long before,
right?
But so when times got hard or bad, after I failed the drug test is when my drinking really got. But
that was fun. That was fun.
Tell them about that story.
Tell us about that one.
He comes home in the middle of the day, which is weird. Like I said, he doesn't miss work.
Right.
So, and he was at that time working overtime like crazy. So.
Sponsored by Powdered Accelerants.
He comes home and I can't even describe like the look on his face. He'd been crying. He was about to cry and he's like, I got to tell you something.
Emily's just like 2. Logan's not born yet.
Yeah. He's like I think was I pregnant with Logan?
You're pregnant.
He's kind of shaking. And I don't know why it popped in my mind. I was like, did you get someone else pregnant? Like, what did you do? Like, what is this bad? And he's
You're
like,
gonna have to find somebody.
I popped a piss test. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, okay, whatever. As long as no one's pregnant and you didn't cheat on me, whatever.
Dude,
in my mind, I had done the worst.
Dukes away.
In my mind, I had done the worst thing possible. I had to leave work. You
thought you had failed your wife.
I failed everybody.
Right.
I did.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think I did. I failed everybody.
Right.
And I did. You did.
And your dad was still alive and working at that time? He'd already passed away.
He did.
But you had some pretty good mentors that you were working under that were friends of your dad at that time too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then again,
go ahead.
Old Rob here. It was just a party thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
just went out. I played.
like
it was a card game. It was a one-time thing. So I'm like, oh, so that's no big deal. They're just being stupid.
Right.
She didn't know the truth yet. I told her that lie the same way as I told people at work.
Right after you finished that 16 hours of videos, you went back and told her the truth?
No, it's after it was the day when I came in from the garage and hit my ass when Tammy was there. Oh. And then everything came out, and I'm alcoholic.
Right.
The piss test. Well, I've been
admitted what he did the night before the wedding.
Yeah.
Oh
no, the day of the wedding. Oh.
Truth serum.
Me and all my friends, my friends smoked pot and stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I'm getting married. You can't be under anything. Like, you have to be so. I stayed the night with my mom. Yeah, he had a party at our house with all kinds of stuff.
That is funny.
Yep.
That is funny.
Hashtag powdered accelerants.
See, he's coming onto the social media. I'm going to get you there sooner or later. We're going to have one for Rob. We're going to have one. Mighty Portuguese. That's going to be his handle.
Yeah.
The Mighty
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Them to mine. I'll have people like sending requests. I don't even know who this. Oh, yeah. They wanted to see something. Just, okay.
Yeah. That's funny. I'm going to ask you another question. What about the day they told you he had cancer?
I told her.
No, we were at the doctor's together. Yes, we were sitting in front of Cook.
No.
See, I don't remember. One thing with me, I shove everything down and I don't deal with it again. We don't talk about it. If I have to fake myself out and lie to myself to get myself through it for that time.
I had a broken leg.
Yeah.
So I was on 90. The story I told was accurate.
Right.
I was on 99. He called me from that because we didn't think nothing of it because we were told twice, 3 times by 3 different doctors, 2 times that it's not cancer.
Right.
So I didn't think the biopsy would be anything. I was driving down 99 getting parts.
And it was funny. I actually wanted the biopsy because I was being a smart ass.
She's the one that wanted it.
You know what I mean? No, we're not going to go every year having to take these stupid tests that don't show. No, do it. And I just figured.
So I got it. He called me, Dr. Cook. I said, well, I can't get to you right now. I got to get these parts back to my guys. Did that, told my crew where I got to go. Got back in the car, called Terry Henry, Dwight, and Aaron Schaefer. For Aaron was first. Tell him this is when the biopsy came back, so everybody started praying. I wasn't calling her on the phone to tell her that.
No, you've said that before.
I got back home. She sat on I go, you need to sit down. She sat on the bed, and I said, that biopsy that we took, it's cancer.
See, that's how messed up was. I don't even remember that part.
I said, now get up. We're going to go see, because the kids weren't home yet. We're going to go see the doctor. So we went and saw the doctor, and he wasn't there because he had told me twice that it wasn't. So I think he knew I was coming. I think he left, and then there was a female doctor that she kind of told me, this is what it is. This is where you're at. This is where we're going to send you. And when we were off, and during COVID, but yet it was serious. So they didn't.
That's crazy. They
didn't fuck around.
I mean, think about that, where these hospitals were just buried with COVID patients. And now you got to go fight through not only the COVID part of it.
See, that's funny though, because when I was taking him for his radiation treatments and then
broken leg.
Yeah, the broken leg.
Leave her alone. She's embracing it.
Well, tell him about the broken leg.
When I'd take him to radiation, I would just sit out there. He was getting a cast change.
Right.
Like, you weren't allowed to say cancer. Like, don't call me and ask me how he's doing. Don't acknowledge it. Don't talk to me about it. Let me do what I need to do, and I'll deal with it another time. So.
But will you?
Probably not.
You were just saying you shoved it all down.
Yeah. I still haven't dealt with it. Like when people bring it up now,
Rob,
cut it off.
See, when Rob and I were talking about it last week, when we were finishing up our other podcast, I go, I'm going to bring up the cancer to Bonnie. He goes, she's just going to say it's a broken leg. And then you did. Yeah. But,
I try and glance over it as much as I can, give as little as possible.
I can tell you this, Bonnie, in the time that I've known Rob, which is a little over 3 years, and the time in here, his discussions about the struggles with the recovery from alcohol was not even remotely like the recovery. I'm talking about his wife, you. The struggles that you went through was worse through that period of cancer than it was his
by far
his alcohol.
By far.
And I've always said this, it doesn't matter if we're battling, and it talks about it in our book, right? It doesn't matter if we're battling cancer or alcoholism, or it's a disease.
I have a question for my wife. We've talked about this, but I want you to, because you had 2 meaningful conversations with God. One before where I got sober. I want you to talk about that. And the conversation you had with God about when I was going through cancer.
No.
I'll
talk about the recovery one, not the cancer one.
Okay.
About which part?
Well, would you ask him, and what did he do?
Oh.
The cancer one's actually a better conversation, but go ahead.
I was actually mad that he got to leave for 30 days. You know what I mean?
Recovery?
Yeah, I'm with the kids, and you get a vacation. Are you kidding me? Like, I have to stay home by myself. And
that's funny.
When we first went up there, when we took him to Maynard's, I actually got into it with Chris. Chris is all, you can't go that way. I told him, shut up. This is my husband. I'll go wherever I want.
Chris Lytle.
Yeah. And then he was like, no, you got to leave. And I'm like, no, I don't have to actually. Like, what are you going to do? And Tammy's like, no, Bonnie, this is the best thing. We got to leave him there or whatever. So we did end up leaving, which she stayed with me a week. I'm very grateful for that. But I don't think I would have got through that without her. But then and then when he came home, I was mad too, because I was like, finally, I get some help with the kids. 90 meetings in 90 days. Like, what the? Really? But probably about like a year into it, I used to have, like I was telling you, my lists. Mm-hmm. I lived by lists. I did everything on my own pretty much. So I lived by the list. It had to go this way or I'd just lose it. Mm. That was one of the first things that he wanted gone. And he eased into it a lot too, because I'll say I felt like he was stepping on my job. I've raised the kids up to this point. I've done everything. You went to work, you made the money. Now you're going to come step in
and be dad,
and try and discipline my kids. Are you crazy? I will say when I let go of that, best thing I ever did was getting rid of the lists and letting him step up. Wow. The kids were better. There was no more yelling in the house.
I didn't yell.
I did. I yelled quite a bit. The lists were gone. It just was so smooth. But I remember getting to a point before he went into rehab, like, would it be easier on my own? I'm doing it anyways.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
So you were
would it be easier on my own?
What would God say?
And no, I always feel weird saying I felt God talk to me. Like
Why?
I heard
this podcast is because of that.
Tell me, just hold on.
Right.
Just wait. You will get everything you want. Just wait. Mm. And then probably about I'd say 3 or 4 years into it, I remember telling him, should I admit it or?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
If I would have walked away and saw the man he is now with another woman, I would have waited till the weekend. I had the kids. They would have both been locked in our house and I'd have burned them both to the ground. I would have watched them both burn.
He said that before many times.
Yeah. I would have lit them both on fire.
Right.
That's what I wanted. Now someone else has it.
Right.
So I don't try and tell other women how they should feel or what to do. I think it's a different situation for me. I wasn't abused. I wasn't hurt. My kids weren't hurt. Right. But if you can work it out, I think it's so much better to work out. I think if you see, wouldn't you be mad to see someone else get this one?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially, you really didn't go through tough times because you really didn't know what his troubles were. Yeah. Maybe you did see some of that towards the end or towards when you knew that he needed to go to rehab as well. But I saw a lot and I walk through a lot with my girls as well, and not just my girls, at that point Eric was a firm part of our life as well, but we also had grandkids, too, that we were, Miranda didn't want Larry driving with the kids. Yeah. She'd say, hey, can you stop by and pick up my kids? And I say, well, your dad's home, but I don't want my dad to get them because she knew that he wasn't a safe choice for her kids either. So there was that part of it that was just rough, and then having to explain to my kids some other things, my girls, to talk to them about things that you had to stay, I don't want to say stay away from because that really wasn't it either. But, there was those parts of him that I was very sad that we were walking through. But you're right. It would have been very hard had we not stuck in this together and him to have the life that he has now with someone else.
I feel lucky that our kids were so little. Logan has no memories of Rob ever leaving. Yeah. He has no memories of,
that dad.
Yeah. Emily, she remembers going to Maynard's, but I think she thought we went as a family. I don't think she
was pissed at her though.
She was very mad at me.
For what?
She thought I made her dad leave. She was a bitch.
How old was she?
Oh, she was
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Oh, she was old enough to know better.
Oh, she would slam the door. She'd scream at me to shut up. And I was like, if we weren't in this situation, I'd probably kick you in your face. Yeah. We're not going to do that. She was mad.
That's funny.
She was so mad. She has Portuguese attitude. She was mad.
Bonnie's second prayer after God told her just wait. So I'm 10 years sober, getting ready to go through cancer. She prayed. She doesn't tell me this till 2 years ago, maybe not even that. because she doesn't talk about it. It takes her years to, oh, by the way. She had asked God, she goes, you told me to wait and I did. You gave me this and now you're going to fucking take it from me this way? And what did he tell you? Sorry.
Yeah. There you go, baby.
And he didn't. And here we are.
No. You know,
I grew up without a dad.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I grew up without a dad.
That's what was hard.
Right.
Don't take this guy away from the kids now. And he didn't.
Yeah, but that's again what you didn't want, and for your kids, you didn't want that. I don't want my girls to struggle or to go through what I did. You know, I don't want them to have a husband who has struggles, and I'm thankful that both of our boys walked through this, you know, because Larry's only 3 years now, so Pat's been in our lives for 5 years and Eric's been in our lives for 15. Mm-hmm. So,
but I've a question, Katie. Two things came up with the girls that I haven't heard from him because he doesn't know. You know, he didn't know the talks going on within the family, but there were talks of you with your daughters, your adult daughters. Hey, we might need to prepare for him being gone out of the house.
Absolutely.
So was that you booting and giving him the boot, or you leaving, or both, or were you not decided?
So when I really saw that it was going down a direction, which I knew that it was going to be not good, I had to start making sure that we were okay financially without Larry as well. So where we were at, I could have made the house payment. Maybe got rid of my car and, just bought something outright that I could drive, and we would be financially okay that way. But when it was really bad, Pat and McKenna were living with us, and I literally had a conversation. We weren't charging them anything. We weren't asking anything of them financially, but I said, would you stay and help? Just because I didn't want to lose the house. Just to be able to continue to stay here at least until things were figured out, whether he went on his own way and did something or he finally got help or whatever the case may be. So, I knew that, I couldn't do it on my own, but with some help with them too, that I could, and know that we could walk away because, I know there's a ton of pressure on Larry, and he has put himself in these big positions for a very long time, but he's very good at what he does. No matter where he's been, he's always been successful, and he's never left a job and gone back except for one time. It was a massive decision that wasn't so good, but we recovered, and his trajectory has always just been higher and higher every time. And he's never failed to provide for us. Never. And I'm very grateful for that because he's taking care of his princesses, and he calls me a princess, which I'm his queen.
Come on now. Come on.
Sorry.
I keep telling him that. Yeah. But anyways, I just knew that if I could figure out a way to be able to stay in our house and to have some stability, then maybe he would figure things out a little bit too. I didn't think that he wanted to lose his family, but the only thing that he could see was his own pain and his anguish of really what he was going through. But no matter what I said or did, it was, Larry, this alcohol is only making you more depressed. And he just could not see through that.
And what would his reaction be? Anger?
No.
Denial?
It was very rare that he was angry. There were other situations, and I think I pushed him sometimes with some things that were happening in our life. those moments made him very angry.
I got you.
But
you want to know one thing that was said that he doesn't know. Well, he found out last week, or was that the day where he decided this, I'm done. With the Pat phone call, but that wasn't. You were coming home. I mean, you hadn't talked to him for me like 50 minutes, but yet you were headed here because you were worried that you were worried he was going to do something.
There was
a time before.
There was a couple of situations over the years, which, I mean, I think I have a better pinpoint of when things kind of took a different turn.
When was that? Was that I see it as the trucking company? You know, when he really invested in the truck and then kind of lost it. Just listen to him. That's kind of when his depression really hit. You know, the pride and ego took a shot.
For me, that's when my depression really.
But what did you see, Katie?
Yeah.
Hit it. Don't hold back. Don't hold back.
This is for another wife that may need to hear these things.
It's still hard.
It's hard.
It's hard as hell. Watch him.
I mean, and you don't want to hurt other people.
Oh, I got you.
And so, I mean, do I think there was some situations? Yes. I mean, Larry was a lot of fun when he was drinking. And, it became not fun for me really quickly as well, because I'm a huge Disney fan, love Disneyland. We were pass holders for years. We're now pass holders again. And, nothing brings me more joy than seeing my grandkids at Disney. And I wish that for everyone, because the magic is just as magical as it was with your own kids, but with your grandkids, it's even more magical.
Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know.
You guys, because we're not there. You guys, you've had kids and now you have grandkids. But why is that?
Grandkids are just such a massive blessing. And
is it because you can give them back?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think too, because you also appreciate, you're living in chaos at first, with your own, and you're just trying to survive. And it's just like so much. I mean, Bonnie had to have a list to get
lots of them.
And if you deviated from that fucking list, hell's going to be paid. And then as we started, they started walking the spiritual road with me. God, and that wasn't me. God started fucking with her list. And she couldn't. And just like remember the first time where Katie couldn't say.
Not a little bit. Yeah. Not a little bit. Blowing them up.
Yes.
And when she couldn't look at me, well, you're drunk. I'm sober and I didn't do it. He did it. Just kind of like you remember when you.
Yeah, when I told Katie she was being a brat. Yeah,
she couldn't say, "Well, you drunk mother." Oh, he's not drunk.
Yeah, she couldn't. That was the very first time, and I talked about that on Miranda's when we were at her 30th birthday, and you were pissed off about a lot of things, and you were being a brat. And I turned and looked at you, and go, "You're being a fucking brat." And you had no response to me because you couldn't call me a drunk. And we ended up having a great night after that. Anyways, but
you could have thought of some other words.
I'm sure. I probably said them to him many times.
That's all right.
their life happens.
Oh yeah.
Paths that you don't necessarily want to walk down and you're forced to, and it sucks. And it's not just alcoholism, and it's not drug abuse or anything like that. It's just things that happen within the dynamics of your own family sometimes, whether it be cancer, somebody else is sick, there's something else that's happening. And you have to rely on your faith, which, undoubtedly I did. And I think I questioned a little bit then too. And I think that sucks because you don't want to have a why me kind of a thing. And I think I did have a why me, or why is this happening? And I didn't want somebody to think differently of me, or, like Larry with his alcoholism. I didn't want people to think terrible of him, because he's been a good dad and a great provider, and he's a good husband. He just had a problem.
That's funny, because when we were dating, you know how you kind of what you want in a man, how you want it to be or whatever. I wanted the exact opposite of my family. Mm-hmm. I did not want any similar traits, just opposite of what I was raised with.
And you got it?
And no, I did not. I got the alcoholic.
You know what? And my dad,
I am now.
No, now it's way better. Yeah.
Right.
My dad's dad was an alcoholic and a not very nice alcoholic. And he saw a lot when he was young. And so in my house, there wasn't, they would have drinks, cocktails, whatever else, but never at any point did I question, nor did I think that my dad had a problem. My mom never, everything was within reason. So, and with Larry for a long time, it was too. So until it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, and
progression.
And
it almost seems like it came on all of a sudden, huh? But it didn't.
Correct.
Like it just hit you at one time, but you didn't see the lead up. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the other side of that is I can almost pinpoint, just like gears in a truck, 1 through 10. I can almost tell you my first, second, third, fourth, all the way to all the way till it's an overdrive in the 10th gear, to where it was so bad I was wide open with my alcoholism. Right, I can literally, in my mind, I can remember each step along the way where it just got a little worse, just a little worse, just a little worse.
See, mine kind of, I accelerated fast.
Mine went over. It was a long period of time. Now, from 8th gear to 10th gear, it went fast.
And for her and I are opposites. I would go through cancer, and she knows what I went through. I mean, it's funny when you hear people talk about pain. And when my wife, when she was talking to me the other day, someone's at a 10. She's like, "Motherfucker, I know what a 10 looks like." Right. And I've lived with it. Right. And that's not it. But I would go through cancer 10 times again.
Explain that, Rob.
Before I'd go through early sobriety.
Explain that. I understand what you're talking about.
She would rather me go through.
I'd go through sobriety again before I'd
because it was just me. In early sobriety, she didn't see any of what was going on in here.
That is a very crucial, or took for somebody to explain that more. I exactly know what you mean.
Well, I had buried and carried shit for years. Right. I mean, for years.
Right.
Like being molested didn't come out till my second set of steps. Stuff. I mean, not that that's a big deal to some people.
Well, it is a big deal.
Yeah. But
fucking idiot. That's a big fucking deal.
That's why my wife wouldn't let the people bury
babysit kids. No one but family.
But then again, that I didn't feel for years. And then when I got sober, that's the reason when I work with men and I tell them, listen, call me. I don't give a shit if it's 1, 2, 3 in the morning. We'll have a 20-minute conversation. Right. Matt G, this is for you. Yeah. I don't care what time it is. You call me. We'll have a 20-minute conversation. You'll be good. I'll be good. We'll get some sleep. I didn't have that afforded to me, which is fine. Maybe that's God's way because I just had to suffer through it. And I suffered hard in early sobriety. I had good moments. Right. But that night, I'd call them the night terrors, where the anxiety would show up that I never felt. I felt at the end of alcoholism, and I got sober, first year to 2 year to 3 year. I would have moments at night. It would just many times, I shouldn't say many, 3 times. I'd had a gun in my hand, and I'd sleep in the living room at the time because I still snored bad on the floor. And then we would switch back. She'd be in the living room. We're not in bed together for a while. And I'd come to her. She doesn't remember this. And I would wake her up. And I would tell her I love her with my 45 in my hand because I'm going home. And then I'd get out there. This happened 3 times because it was just. But I think, okay, who's going to see me? Oh, the kids are going to find me. Fuck this. And then I would pray. I mean, I'm the whole time praying. I had a rough early sobriety. I'd go through cancer again before that. I would. Yeah, and I understand. And cancer sucked. And I've heard you explain that because on the opposite side of that, Bonnie didn't see the internal suffer you were going through. No. She only saw the external suffer through cancer. Correct. Right? And that's where, Katie has watched me go through 24 surgeries. 24 surgeries. Mm-hmm. She's had to sit in that waiting room and worry about me. Some of them minor, some of them pretty freaking major. I've had a couple major ones. And she's had to sit in that, and she's seen me battle through that pain. And I think for her, I don't know. How would you answer that question? What would you rather see me go through again? One of those surgeries? Well, you're going to have to watch a couple more surgeries anyway. But watching me go through the sobriety of going through that recovery process, or watching me be a drunk. I mean, your physical condition is hard for me because no matter what surgery you have had, you still have pain. And so there's that, right? That you're not
I don't think that there's going to be a point in your life where you're really pain free. And that makes me sad for you because you're not that it's a bad quality of life. It's just you feel so restricted.
Feel like less of a man.
Yes.
It's hard.
Like you can.
Right.
Well, you're not because you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing.
But we feel like that.
I do. I feel used to it.
And it's hard. And it's not something we can break.
I think too with that his situation with the pain that he was in and those things, it only added to his depression.
Oh yeah, big time.
Greatly, but that was not something that he was really even putting a thumb on and saying, I think this ties back to, this or what I'm going through. And I think that, again, he was good time Larry and, he was fun. And so he would drink and it just got to a point where it wasn't fun anymore, where I wasn't.
For me either. Yeah.
And again, on my side, she didn't see what I was going through on the inside with me getting well. Because I was at meetings every day for 3 years.
Right.
Big, not my other lair, took me to meetings every day.
Right.
Come and pick me up. But then when I was going through them, and I didn't see it on her face, the alcoholism,
Right.
But I did see it on her face going through cancer. I would come out, and I know what she would do for me. And I told the story when I would, because she doesn't really listen to the podcast. It doesn't bother me.
Neither does Katie.
She listens.
I do some.
No, I mean, I do.
Katie listens to it when I'm editing.
I get a lot of it because he's editing, so I'm hearing all of these things. And
which I appreciate because you have a lot of great input.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I am a producer for
She's a CFO.
FFS Studios.
That's for fuck's sake Studios.
Oh, that's awesome.
But you know why? Because every time I turned around and, 52 weeks ago, Larry was like, I need another $1,000. I'm like,
for fuck's sakes.
That's how I felt about it. I was like, Larry, oh my gosh.
Find a cheaper hobby.
She hasn't seen any of the video cost yet.
No, I haven't. And you know what?
Hey, babe, and we haven't paid anything. I just sit here for free.
This is why
trust me, your pay to me is sitting here. No one is coming
to record here for free any longer except for you two. Sorry, everybody.
We're kind of getting off the topic, and that's fine. I mean, I know, there's a lot of things. And I'm going to bring something up. Then I know this is. Hold on.
Go.
So you had said in your early days of sobriety that you had your gun, and there was a period in our lives, and I want to say that was even before it got really before I feel like it really took a downhill slide, that Larry was obviously dealing with some depression, which I don't think I had seen the extent of it until he had said some things. But, I pretty much thought, okay, you don't need to drink anyways. Alcohol needs to be gone. But took it as far as we took all of his shotguns, his handguns, took it all up to my mom and dad's and, had it up there. We had no alcohol in the house whatsoever. But, I was trying to believe that he was not going to drink and that he was, going to take things seriously. Like, hey, we really need to back off this. We need not to drink. We need not to have this in the house because I'm concerned about you. And I think it did help a little, but he was just, going behind.
When they want to get it,
they're going to do
they'll
it.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My body.
We had taken steps and measures, especially towards the end.
Yes. The locked
refrigerator.
Yeah.
So Pat and Kenna could still have some alcohol if they wanted it. And
they would break in.
Still, yeah.
Or he got in the closet, got some of Pat's whiskey that he didn't like.
Okay, well, you can't make fun of that.
What? Say something.
Okay, when we first got together, I was huge in NASCAR.
I was waiting for her to bring this one up.
I loved NASCAR, okay? Junior Johnson came out with White Lightning Moonshine. And you could get these collector bottles, and I got one. I was so excited. I got one.
It was numbered too.
Yes, it was.
So funny.
Couple years after he's been sober and through all this stuff, he admits that it's water that's in that bottle. He bought that
like you were ever gonna drink it.
Yeah, drank the moonshine out of it.
It wasn't that good anyway.
It was
should
alcohol.
be thankful he left the bottle and didn't like try and get rid of the evidence. So and it's autographed.
Yeah.
Well, you know
I
what?
still have the bottle, but
Let's give Larry some kudos here in this situation.
About the wine.
Larry has a magnum of wine with a football team, his high school football team who went to championships. Section champions. And a lovely friend of ours put it on his favorite wine, which he wasn't a big wine drinker, but he liked this one. And that was the only bottle that he did not open.
oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. We still have it.
You know why I didn't open it? Because it has a wax seal on it and everybody would have noticed. I swear to God.
No, I believe
This one had the like little tape thing that went over the cork.
You could tape that down with clear tape and nobody from afar, you couldn't see it. This one right
What
here.
do you think
it's
Rob
done.
did?
It's done. That's exactly what I did.
No, trust me, you never even told me that, but I can tell you that's how I
exactly
would have
what I
hidden it.
did.
It's clear tape, but far enough away you won't see it.
And if it means anything, it wasn't that fucking good either.
You know what? I drank her clamatos sometimes in the middle of the fucking night, and you want to know what that was like getting down? That was whatever the fuck they were. They were fucking nasty tomato bullshit.
We don't drink for taste. We drink.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'd look at the back of the refrigerator and go, oh, fuck. Go through withdrawals or drink that. What's the decision going to be?
Drink it.
Drink it.
Yeah.
You know, Rob brings up.
You know, and me, I'd be like, who was drinking these? And then, you know, McKenna was underage. I'm like, are you drinking those? And she's like, no, it's not me. And I knew she wasn't lying because she was looking at me like I was kind of crazy. And I'm like, are you drinking those? He's like, it's not me.
The fuck, I wouldn't drink those nasty ass things.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? You know, what Rob was bringing up, I haven't talked about this in a very long time, but Katie, it was during COVID, and Katie had this Stella Rosa wine that she really liked, right? And it was extremely hard to get during COVID. Well, I would start getting the withdrawals around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And one morning I was like, I was just coming out of my mind. I needed something. Opened up the pantry door, and in the back was a bottle of that Stella Rosa. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. So, well, I ended up opening it.
I was going to say, you knew what you were going to do.
No, I knew. No, Bonnie, in my mind, I'm thinking how I'm going to be able to hide it, right?
No, we're going to drink it.
I'm going to drink it. The dilemma was, how am I going to hide it and replace it
before she finds out?
So here's what happened, right? I drank it about 5:15. I knew one of my customers that owns a liquor store over in Riverbank. I knew that he was selling it, because that's where we'd bought those at. And I got up about 5:15 and I ran to Riverbank, right? And I finished the whole bottle. Then 2 drinks, it was gone. I went to Riverbank. As soon as he opened up at 6 o'clock, I went in to grab a bottle. And as I grabbed the one bottle, I'm like, might as well get another one. So I grabbed 2 of those bottles, drank the one on the way home, came home, put the other one in the back of the pantry before.
If you were at a liquor store, why didn't you buy her 3 bottles of her wine, grab something for you on the way home?
Bonnie, that would require sane thought process.
Insanity.
Fucking alcoholic.
It's insanity.
Insanity for even doing it, for God's sakes. It's like,
tell them about remember the Gatorade? I went from Jack and Coke to Jack and Gatorade because
it was healthier. Gatorade was healthier than Coke. Less calories.
Wouldn't dehydrate you.
Insanity.
I'm being healthy with my drinking. Aren't you proud?
Just insanity. Check this out, right? When my liver, my pancreas started, I was drinking Coors Light, and then I went to
Michelob Ultra.
No, not yet. I went from Coors Light, and in my mind, and I was drinking a 36 pack a day, easily, right? Easily. It's like water at this point. And I'm like, I can buy the 805s with more alcohol for about the same price. So I started drinking the 805s, right? Well, because it had more alcohol and I needed more alcohol. Because at this point, my body was just starting to just stop working off alcohol. And so I started drinking that 805, and then that's when my pancreatitis and everything really started getting bad, and the liver was just horrible. And in my mind, it's the beer. I had to go back to Michelob Ultra because it's that 805 was getting to me.
Yeah.
That was the insanity of my thought process.
He ended on, we started with Jack Daniels, and then I think Went to Maker's Mark because it was cheaper, and I think at the
Canadian
end,
Mist.
Canadian Mist. We ended on Canadian Mist.
I ended on Kessler's. That's where I went.
Family from Canada, and that's their drink of choice, Canadian Mist.
Oh God!
Yeah, I went from drinking Crown every morning to Kessler's.
I would not stoop to vodka.
No, I wouldn't have never done it. No.
Yeah. Oh wait,
it's got to be brown whiskey.
No, I would drink
if it was in the house, you would drink
No,
it.
God, Katie, I would have drank anything.
She's right. I would. No, I would too. But
okay, you want insanity?
Yeah.
And this whole part of it, Larry was actually taking advice from another alcoholic when he was having all of these health problems. You know, he's bloated and he just, you know, he feels like, I mean, I would make a lovely dinner and everybody else would be scarfing it down. And I go, what's wrong? Do you not like it? It tastes like shit. I can't even tell you how many times I've not remade things
Katie,
because it tasted like shit.
And she's a hell of a cook.
Anyways, my point is, he was talking to another alcoholic at work, and he's like,
Got it.
"Oh, when you feel like that, I just drink that alkaline water."
There you go. I'd forgotten about that.
It makes
your
me
acid
feel
level's too high.
Your acid levels, your pH in your body is all messed up. So he tells me, this gentleman does have a drinking problem. I knew it. He had talked to me about it, and he tells me this, and he was just like, maybe I should try that alkaline water. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So yeah.
Isn't it funny how we're like, yes, let's try something new.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, let's do this. That's
got to
work
for that guy.
Yeah.
It had to work for him. And trust me, I mean, we probably had a good $120 out in this alkaline water that he drank, I'm sure, with his whiskey.
Is it because your taste buds were shot, or your stomach was so upset you couldn't eat?
I had so much acid in my mouth. It was in my mouth.
I got you.
I mean, I just couldn't. No matter what I ate, no matter what. The only thing that I could drink was alcohol.
I had to drink coming up towards the end, because that's when I'd be dry heaving on Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be dry heaving because I didn't drink on Sundays usually, or I couldn't drink all day on Sundays because I had to work. I never drank before work. So I'd be dry heaving, telling myself, fuck, I'm done. I'm done. By the afternoon, well, shit, she's going to have a great dinner and if I don't eat it, she's going to know it because you fucking drank so much. That's what she's going to think in my mind. So I'll just have a half pint, which will settle my stomach down. I can eat dinner. She won't be mad. That's how I would talk myself into the next. And I never get a half pint. Who the fuck buys a half pint? Get a fifth.
I did.
Okay, well, when we cleaned out his truck.
Well, I don't.
when he was at Maynard's and you go for that counseling or whatever.
Tell them what you did with the house too.
They're like, you have to do everything opposite now. There's got to be this great big change. I painted my house. I took things from that cupboard, put them in that cupboard. That cupboard went to that cupboard. I did all this stuff, right? I had to get everything cleaned out.
No Listerine, no.
Yeah, I had to get rid of all my vanilla, all my extracts, my mouthwashes, perfumes, body sprays, anything that said it had alcohol had to be out of the house. I went through his truck. He didn't have a work truck then. He had his black Dodge. No exaggeration, at least 300 of those little airplane bottles of Jack Daniels or what is it, Crown
Royal.
Okay. If that wasn't enough, I start cleaning the garage. The most random places I would find bottles, in the most random, shoved in shoes. There were just bottles shoved everywhere.
And I didn't have to
everywhere.
hide it. I did.
No, and that's at the end. I mean, I hid my whiskey. Well, I thought I did for a long time because when when the beer stopped working,
fuck beer.
I know,
but
that's what I could drink in the open. If I'd have just started drinking whiskey in the open, I'd go have a whiskey at dinner or something like that.
Long Island.
Well, I'm just saying a whiskey at dinner was normal. But drinking whiskey just around the house, that wasn't normal for Larry. For Larry's style of drinking. I was a beer drinker, right? Or if I was at a conference or something and be drinking all day long, I would stay on beer, right? Because I've said multiple times, I didn't like to get past, I did not like to get drunk. I hated getting drunk.
That's why when I had the powdered accelerants, I could balance that shit.
But after Larry had his gastric bypass.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that. We've talked about that.
Looking back now, I don't think that they truly address a lot of the other issues.
Mm-hmm.
he was addicted to food at that time. And even though he had to go through all the steps to qualify for the surgery, I think that the food addiction was something that was never really addressed. And so I think he had the surgery, was super successful, as he is still successful with his surgery. But he had a huge addiction to fitness. I mean, he was walking and riding his bike faster than his surgeon even wanted him to. I mean, he came from home from the hospital that same day. He was on his bike and he was doing like 5 miles. And then he did P90X and he was lifting weights and he was running on the treadmill and he was doing all of these things because he also wanted to look good now that he had dropped all this weight and he was feeling great. And so I think he had a little
And he wasn't drinking at this time because not until he crossed the neighbor's house and got that beer.
Yeah. And that night, you know, looking back now, it is funny because he's like, I just drank my first beer and he was totally lit off of 1 beer.
But gone in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. And that is,
right.
You know, I don't know everybody's experience. I can tell you Larry's experience.
Larry Shepard, Waterford, California.
Anyways,
everybody
I can
knows.
tell you Larry's experience. He would be fast and furious to get drunk, and then he could be sober within half an hour.
That's crazy.
I mean,
but there's something with a gastric bypass.
Yes.
Well, I think addiction is an addiction. So when you get rid of one addiction, you replace it with another.
Correct.
And I've always said, I am so lucky and I'm so grateful. He got addicted to God. He got addicted to the Bible.
Well,
he was
got
addicted
to
into
this AA
the
book.
Yeah, you know, he was the addictions that he took, annoying at times, but
Talk to me. What's what annoying?
you know what's annoying. I'll tell you, you can only get AA'd so many times. And then it really sucks because you'll be yelling at one of your friends and you'll AA him. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
And I'll hear it.
What was your part in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, but they like it when they do it to me because I told my story Thursday.
Now I see my kids doing it.
Well, they did.
I see
shit.
Emily.
You know what?
Emily, my daughter did to me.
What great coping skills for your kids.
Yeah.
Honestly.
My daughter's awesome with AA stuff.
Yes.
With her friends.
I know, but like how she implements it in her day-to-day life. And I think even going forward, our girls, potentially our grandkids, will have those better coping mechanisms to handle things. Because Larry's outlook on life and his outlook on other things that happen within your family are completely different. You know, I mean, his, you know, which is beautiful, you know, moving forward. You know, some things that you have to go through. And I know that he said this already once before, but my dad has cancer, which he's in remission, thank God. But when we were given my dad's diagnosis, it was really on the bad part of Larry's alcoholism. Oh. And so my dad is a silent fighter, I say. He's very quiet about his health and what he's gone through and what he's had to deal with and what he continues to deal with on a daily basis, really. But my mom is this very strong, quiet figure who holds him up, and they just deal with what he's had to go through.
Kind of like you.
Uh-huh.
Just like you.
Thank you.
Yep.
But Larry knew that he wasn't going to be there for me emotionally because he couldn't because of his drinking. And I was walking Larry's dad got cancer 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago.
It's been a while. Yeah.
And he, in my opinion, he was great. He was taking his dad to chemo. He was taking his dad to the majority of the appointments that his dad had to go through. And his dad's a very stoic, very, I don't want to say, he doesn't rely on anyone. He just does his things on, for himself. So, Larry would make sure that he would take him to his chemo, and he did. And Larry was there for a lot of it because he did have the blessing of working from home at that period, which he still does now, but he was able to.
I had the ability to do it better than my brother and sister.
Yeah. And it's no shame to them, but I mean, he had that time afforded to him where he could work sitting next to his dad who was getting treatment. So he had that. So, Larry had support at home with me,
You didn't have it.
I didn't,
You were a caretaker at home and a caretaker and helping to
and I had my girls, but I couldn't really even talk to Larry about other things that were happening. There's, things, I don't want to say at work, but, work environment, that kind of a thing that were changing. And I couldn't talk to him about it.
She would try. I mean, I just didn't give a fuck. I really didn't.
Page 62,
I just didn't.
Hey, Katie, were there times that would you keep things or not share things with your daughters because you didn't want them to have a different look of their dad at times? Just say you would just hold on to those?
For sure, but you know what? We're pretty much an open book.
That's kind of what I gathered. The Fab Four or the...
Yeah, the Core Four.
The Core Four.
Yeah. And my girls are extraordinary.
They're amazing, both of them. Differently, but they're both amazing. And they got different parts of you too.
Yep.
I say I have the light and the dark version because Miranda's got that bright blonde hair and McKenna's gravitated toward the darker colors in her hair. But their personalities
and you have both.
Their personalities are similar yet so far apart as well. But they're both extraordinary. They're both very strong, very determined, driven, and I'm very proud of them. But they've also chosen the best partners for them.
Well, Larry shared the same thing. You're just grateful that the men that they've chosen.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very grateful for both of them, for our boys, I say.
And I said that on Miranda's podcast. Yeah. I said one of my most grateful things in life are my two son-in-laws. Yeah, because for them to take care of, for a dad, one of the things you want the most is a man to take care of your daughter. And I got two amazing son-in-laws. Yeah, amazing.
Katie, as Larry's going into recovery, as he's going to Maynard's, you're dropping him off. Are you hopeful? Did you see something different? Did you see something different in him?
I was tired.
Oh, I bet.
I was there.
You needed a 28-day break.
Yeah. I wasn't like Bonnie. I was,
I had two little kids and no babysitters. Like, we wouldn't let anyone babysit, so it was just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it tough? Yes. The months leading up to it were very tough. And, I don't think that Larry's even talked about this, but we were, it's COVID. It was weird. There was a lot of things that were happening. And, I was trying to control things that I could control. Larry didn't have a lot of control of any money. He had an allowance, but it didn't matter. You guys, what is it? Cunning, conniving.
Cunning, baffling, and powerful.
Yeah, there you go. So, and it's true. It's, and hiding things at all cost. And
oh boy,
I don't want to say that he was a liar. I was
a fucking liar.
Okay, you can say it, but I mean, to me, I wasn't questioning him in other areas of our life. I knew that this was the singular greatest issue that he had was his alcoholism. And he didn't want to say that he was an alcoholic. I think maybe internally he was saying that he was, but he wasn't admitting it. And
I was screaming it inside. Yeah. Inside.
But I don't think that we were trying to give you a pass either. Nope. And I think that we were trying to okay, if we can control this, then maybe we can, help him in this way. Did I feel that it was really out of control? At a point, I knew that it had gotten bad. And that's when I was trying to get my ducks in a row. And what was happening here in this house was me just trying to survive. And then I was grateful that I still had McKenna at home. And I feel horrible that she had to walk through that with me and Patrick as well, because he was here. And I was leaning on them a lot, but yet they were also very supportive of me. And then Miranda too, even though she was still cautious about, her little ones being around, not being around Larry like he was dangerous. She just didn't want him to be the sole caretaker of them. It was fine if I was home because, let's be real, it's still that way. I'm the one who takes care of them when they're here.
Yeah.
And
it's my job.
And vice versa, I knew where I was at, and I didn't want to drive with them. I knew, right? Self knowledge, right? I knew that I love my grandkids enough to know I was not going to drive with them. I was not going to, put them in any kind of harm's way because I knew that I just knew. I wasn't such of a fucking drunk. I didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean?
It's good you knew that and recognized it.
I did.
But you loved them enough that you did.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't.
In that position.
Speaking of that, I never thought of, because when we had the Durango, you did all the driving. Mm-hmm. I didn't.
You hate to drive.
And that's back then. She don't drive shit now because we're not going to let her because of the ticket, pulling off the gas pump. They all know about it. I've told the story.
See, they call me the passenger princess. I hate driving. That's what was so funny when I went to stay with Tammy. That's what she needed help with the most was driving. And I'm like,
go, bitch, I don't drive.
And I'm like, and there's snow.
Oh, boy.
There's wind. There's rain. So then I'm like telling her boys, well, if it's snowing, you guys are still going to have to drive us. And they're like, what happened to you? They're like, the auntie that we remember was like so tough. Nothing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no. No. I'm like, I don't drive anymore.
Well, you're still tough.
Well, I'll still throat punch somebody. I'm just not driving in the snow, motherfucker.
And I only got 15 seconds to back it up. So it's got to end really fast.
We're working on her cardio. I think she's got about 18 seconds right now. She could go when she's done.
Hey, Kate, I want to bring something up.
Wait,
and the red card.
Let me go back to what I was. Yeah. So there was, we were trying to like, okay, Larry, let's handle your depression. So he was seeing a psychiatrist.
No, both actually.
Oh, yeah. Technically you were. And I said, you have to be honest about what you were drinking. You have to tell them what you're drinking. And he had assured me that he had shared. And what was just so strange to me was that all they did was, oh, that you're still depressed and this is happening. Okay, let's change your medicine. And then he would get a new medication and I'd call Miranda, our nurse, and I would say, Miranda, what is this? And she would be like, I have no idea why they would put him on that. Mom, this is
while drinking as much as he does.
Yes. So Larry said, if you don't think that I'm not being honest, I'm going to let you sit in on my Zoom appointment.
Okay.
Because it was COVID. It was a weird time, I mean, he never physically met with this doctor. Never physically saw her.
So they couldn't really see him.
I don't think they cared.
No.
Honestly. And it was just like, okay, well, here, let's do this.
I forgot all about those appointments.
So he was telling me, you don't believe me? Okay, you sit with me. And he did admit to her, I'm still drinking. And she's still giving him this medicine that the combination could kill him.
That's ridiculous.
But is it surprising?
No.
It's that's kind of when I said we need to do something. So
this is 2021.
No,
2020.
Yes. Yeah. It was probably fall of 2020.
Okay.
Yes. Timeline. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Miranda and McKenna kind of get the timeline. It's somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But it's COVID.
Yeah. I mean, where did I feel that he had gone off the deep end? When I was in Disneyland with
the B12 shot?
Well, I wasn't here for that. I heard all about it.
But you were in Disneyland when that happened.
But, my mom and dad had gone because, again, we're taking the grandbabies. Larry was still positive on taking a positive COVID test. I was negative. We had this planned. I was still going to go. I knew it kind of gave him a pass not to go. But I'd also, let me go back a little bit too. And I'm thinking I'm not finishing my thoughts well, but I don't like to go back here, by the way.
Listen, I know. But this is for someone else.
Yeah. So there wasn't a time that we did not take a trip or go somewhere that I wasn't resentful because it was for me, hey, let's go do this. And for him, it was like, well, where am I going to get my next drink? And so we took this trip in February of 2016, I believe. And it was a couple of days of what I wanted to go and do and see. And then we were going to travel back up Highway 1. And so for Larry, it was like, oh, Malibu's great. But where are we going to stop next and get a drink? And we were in Venice, I'll never forget. And we're walking down essentially their boardwalk or whatever else. And Larry's just looking for the next, like bar that we can sit and have a cocktail in. And I'm all for day drinking. Sometimes it can be a lot of fun. But when you have an alcoholic in your life, it's not fun. Because then your sense of responsibility, I didn't want to drink because somebody had to drive, somebody had to be responsible.
So you can't enjoy.
No. And I wasn't enjoying any of those trips or any of those times. We were married 30 years and we went to Palm Springs because we had to mark the anniversary trip. We had to do something. We've been married 30 years. A lot of people don't even get to 5,
3.
to 10. Yeah.
Look.
So I said, we have to go and do something. And he was at the job where it was really bad and they were totally dependent upon him in the height of his alcoholism as well. And we went on this trip and I just, we had to stop and get alcohol for the room. We had to have alcohol at the pool. We had to worry about where we were going to drink that night for dinner. Everything was centered around that, in my opinion, is how it was.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So, and there was, I saw it at home. I saw where he was drinking and I would question him a little bit and he would, like it's no big deal. But there was 2 things that he would do that would kind of give him away. And he says, I didn't ever do that. And you did. But I call it high stepping.
Ooh, what's high stepping?
He would just literally get up from his chair and just walk to our half bath, which is not very far. 15 feet.
15 steps, yeah.
But it's an over-exaggerated step. So he's like in a marching band. Yeah. Like super exaggerated.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Frankenstein walk.
I know what you're talking about.
Frankenstein walk.
Diver high step?
No, you would do the blank stare. Like you would have the blank stare. Like I'd be talking to you and it'd just be
gone.
1,000-mile stare?
Physically
and
there,
then just
not
walk
emotionally.
Off.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
we're done, I
that
guess.
Too. Yeah, so there was that. And then the other thing is we'd be sitting out on the back patio and, the kids would be here or we'd have other people or the kids would have friends here or something like that. And we'd all be having a great time. And we'd look up and realize that Larry's gone because Larry'd put himself to bed. He would just go and lay down.
Good thinking.
Well, like I said, I didn't like to get drunk. When I got to that point, I'm like, I'm going to bed. All right. Before I got drunk and did stupid shit.
No, I think that you had hit a limit of feeling pretty good and you were just going night.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, and I've said this multiple times. My drinking was to put me to sleep. That's the reason why I drink.
But I think that has a lot to do with your anxiety.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
And the things that you were trying
my depression,
to control.
my anxiety.
But again, he was only making himself more depressed by drinking.
Yeah.
He could not, no matter what I said.
You couldn't convince us of that.
He wouldn't even listen.
No.
And
what's crazy with him is, I've never seen him drunk. I've never seen him drunk.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I wish I could say that about Katie because we'd go to weddings and stuff.
Not really.
No, I've never really seen him. He's never been a fall down. He always went to bed before.
But I was the same way. There was very...
there's...
Well, there was one time when the alarm was going off in the house and the garage door, I had opened the garage door, set the alarm off, and I laid down and went to sleep or something.
No, you were standing in the doorway, buck naked.
Outstanding.
No clothes on, and the house alarm's going off. And I'm like, what are you doing? And there's that stare.
Did you go out to get a drink?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what he was doing. I had to bring him back in the house.
If I said I never had a blackout that I remember,
right.
Ha ha ha. Right. That was the only time in my life because
I couldn't turn the alarm off because he wouldn't get out of the doorway, so I could shut the door.
Remember I said we would switch.
So
She'd be in the living room, and I'd sleep in the bedroom because of the snoring, but back and forth. That's when she was out there, and I was in the bedroom. For some reason, I would open the door, alarm going off, and then that's when I kind of came to, and she's screaming at me from down the hallway, like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just looking at her. I don't know.
That stare. Yeah.
You know, they're going, man.
A loss for words, mother.
No, that's not loss for words. You know, Katie brings up some stuff that, you know, that obviously I've buried a little bit. You know, the stuff that I've put her through, you know, I'm still mad at myself for.
I know.
Right? I'm getting better at it, but I know when I see her talk about it that pain is still real.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it hurts me to see it because I want nothing but the best for her.
We want to take it away. We want to fix it.
I want to
fix it so bad.
Drag it out of her so bad. And,
but we can't.
And just let me shoulder your pain, right? Let me do it.
I caused it. Let me fix it.
You carried mine for so long. Let me carry. And, you know, those things when she talks about those trips that I wanted to be so special for her and to know that I ruined them and know that those trips were more for me than it was for anything else. You know, the trip she's talking about is when I sold off my trucking company and
the 30th anniversary.
No. The trip,
2016.
The 2016 is when I sold back my trucking company, and I had a couple weeks. I took a couple weeks off, and she took a week off, and we spent, you know, in my.
I think maybe it was 2017, but
I think it was 17. But in my disgusting brain, for me, I wanted to spend time with my wife because I'd been away from her for so long. But in reality, all I was doing is escaping and drinking and dragging her along with me.
Correct.
I wanted a drinking buddy for a couple weeks, right? And that's what I was wanting because I just wanted to go fucking drink. That's all I wanted to do. But, you know, we went to Disneyland for, I don't know, a couple days, and then we just drove all the way up the coast coming home and stopping where it should have been an amazing time for her and I made it a fucking misery for her. Because I was. That's all I was thinking about. We're going to stop here. We'll drink here. We're going to stop here. We're going to drink here. And it's really, looking back on it now, it's exactly what I was fucking thinking. That's it. I didn't care about, you know, the stress that I'd put her through the 2 years of the, you know, I took an enormous pay cut when I bought into the trucking company, you know, because as an owner, you don't take big checks, right? So I took that and just damn near bankrupted us during that period of time. And I just wanted to give back to her. But in the meantime, in my mind, I was so fucking depressed. All I wanted to do was drink for fucking.
Oh, we think we're doing good things. We think we're thinking of everybody, but we're not. We think of ourselves and ourselves only. Page 62.
No, and then that 32, and then that our 30-year anniversary, you know, we went into Disneyland again, right?
No, we didn't. We just went to Palm Springs.
No, we went into LA.
No, we only went to Palm Springs. And that was part of the problem is because they were so dependent upon him to handle like all of these things. And they kind of had a dysfunctional office kind of situation, well, in my opinion, at least. And the whole time his phone rings. He's working the whole time that we are away. And it was just, for me, we went and we marked that anniversary, but it wasn't a celebration by any means because it was just miserable. He was working, he was drinking, and none of it was ideal.
I remember the next morning we got there, Katie probably don't even remember this, but I had an ice chest in the back of the truck, and I went down that morning and drank like 6 beers and came back up just to get through that morning.
Oh yeah.
It was just yeah. Anyways, you know, those are the drunk logs and stuff that, you know, and Katie said something a while back is that she felt guilty that she led me down this. And it's one of the things that, you know, I talked about it with Miranda, and I didn't really allude to who had said it because I was waiting for Katie to be on here to talk about it. Katie and I, one of the things that's been very nice to have our daughters on here, it's created a ton of conversation, right? Katie's been very hesitant about agreeing to come on here because she didn't want to come back into these things, and there's still
get into the heaviness. And we dodged a lot of it, but there's
and there's still a lot. I mean, there's still so much of the upside that through my recovery of this, and Katie has felt guilty. Babe, if you want to talk about this, we can, or if you don't, she said something to me on the phone the other day and it just crushed me, and is that she felt guilty that she made me go down that road. And I told her abso-fucking-lutely not, right? There was some heavy ass shit that we were going through, but I was the one that picked up that bottle. I was the one that decided that's the way I was going to run from all the issues at home. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't. And it just makes me sick to my stomach that you carry that. And I hate it. And I can't remove that except with time and except with my living amends, except just telling you that is not your burden to carry. That is. And
Bonnie's 14 years down the road.
Right. And that's where I wanted Bonnie on here to kind of help.
But at some point, did you feel guilty? Like, where was your accountability in this? Like, did I do something? Did I push him? Or was there like the stressors of home and a family and everything else?
I think I most felt guilty. The only times I really felt guilty was I'm a master enabler. So when I would go to church by myself, I'd make up, he had to work. Or, I just thought he didn't come to a lot of the family things. I'd say he had to work. I'd make a lot of excuses. I would always go buy the alcohol because I didn't want him driving. So I would go buy it. And then, I'm monitoring it. I'd seen exactly I didn't know he had a bottle in his truck and in the garage too. Yeah. I enabled it for a long time.
We had, we would go to Costco and get the Costco pack of Coors Light or whatever he was drinking at that time. And I would assume that this is the allotment that, okay, look, this is ridiculous for you to have anything over 5, which I still thought was excessive, but for him, that was just getting started.
Oh, baby.
That was
Sundays.
Breakfast.
Yeah. Or Saturdays.
Friday
night, I would buy the gallon of Jack Daniels, and I was lucky if it made it Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. And that was one thing. He wasn't drinking. Not saying that we didn't have a hard alcohol in the house, because we did. There was other alcohol in the house, but I didn't think it was, like Pat and McKenna, their friends, which I loved them all. They would come, they're garage sitters, so they all would hang out in the garage, and which was fine because it was, I'd rather them be here, and they were all safe, which I was thankful for, overage as well. So it wasn't like underage drinking. But if there was a handle or if there was a larger bottle of alcohol or something, I would make sure that Patton kind of brought it upstairs with them, because I knew that Larry was going to be the first one up and he would probably be drinking that. In my mind, I knew that that's what was happening. But I wouldn't buy any alcohol for Larry. I wasn't stopping and getting additional beer for the house or anything like that. I would call on my way home and say, hey, do you need anything? I'm going to stop at the store. Do you want me to pick up anything? And he knew not to ask any longer, because I wasn't buying him alcohol, because I wasn't going to enable him or contribute in that way. I just wasn't going to.
See, I was the opposite.
But it didn't matter, because he was doing what he wanted to anyways. And even when I was restricting, when I took over all of the finances and restricted him, and he had just a separate debit card that he used, and there was a small amount of money on there, it didn't matter. It was still happening. So
I just that she brings up those 36 packs from Costco where I would drink, and then this is such a stupid. I would drink, then I would bring a 12 pack home and fill that 36 pack up, so it didn't look like It was down as far.
And why did we do that?
Because we're just manipulated. I had to have it, and I didn't want her.
You didn't want to get called out.
I didn't want to get called out on it. I didn't want to get into that argument.
You didn't have to answer for it.
Fucking children. I'm a child.
Yeah, we were
I'm
children.
a fucking child running and hiding.
A grown man child. That's I was saying.
Hey, the night before.
I mean, I just stopped arguing. I didn't want to. It wasn't really an argument, but I just knew it was going to turn into something bigger. And there was nothing that I could say that it was going to make a difference unless I left. And I didn't want to leave. You know, if Miranda was home, I wouldn't have wanted to leave Miranda either. But I keep saying McKenna because McKenna was still living at home. So I didn't want to leave McKenna because I knew that McKenna, being like me, Miranda would have done the same. But they would have picked up the pieces. You know, they would have tried to manage things. And I didn't want that burden on them either. So, you know, if I could shield them from it, I was going to. And, you know, I think my mom had a good inclination of what was happening because she was also my safe haven. But our business was our business, and it wasn't anybody else's business. And what would it have mattered if I had talked to Larry's mom or dad about it? What were they going to do?
Nothing.
You know,
could do nothing.
Nothing. Because, and the situation was going to be the same. He had to make the decision to get the help. He had to make the decision to change his life. He had to.
My sister was texting me this morning. She just listened to Miranda. I think Miranda's or McKenna's one of them, and she was just, you know, over the moon apologetic that she wasn't more involved and didn't see what was going on. I just said, sis, nobody outside this house knew what was going on. It's not her fault. It was
evident in some ways, you know.
But to the extent we're pretty good hiders, and you know.
Yeah. I didn't want anybody outside. I mean, as far as everybody else knew, I was still just a casual drinker, right? I mean, when I went to stay with my mom when my mom was going through cancer. I mean, I would go sit over there and I'd have beer out in there in my bottle of Jameson's I would blend in with my beer. My mom knew I was drinking beer. She didn't realize I had a freaking half thing of Jameson inside of it with it, right? I mean, it was just a miserable. Do you want to talk about a depressing period of time?
Yeah, buddy,
I'm telling you that those memories of going through all that, and it was just, you know, and I think back now, and, you know, and I can't fix a lot of the shit I did, right? We worked through them. We talked through them. That's why I was anxious or excited to do it with my daughters. I was excited to do it, you know, with my wife. And I love talking about it because when I talk about it, it heals me, right? It makes me see, okay. And not only does it heal me, it gives me tools to help somebody else, right? And that's why we do this. You know, it's one of the, Katie was just having a really hard time with coming on. Did you have a hard time coming on, Bonnie? No,
but it's been so much longer.
Right.
I've had so much.
But again, but do you see how hard it was? You mentioned one word. You mentioned alcoholism. She'll do that. No. You mentioned cancer.
Oh, for
she
sure.
ain't talking about it.
No,
she ain't going to talk about that.
That's still too fresh.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that. But as we work,
I said, I don't like to live back in that period of time either. I don't like, you know, what's done is done, and we had to go through that. I mean, thank God our marriage weathered that
good Lord.
as well. And in ways we're much stronger for it as well. But I don't like to go back there. I don't like to live in that space anymore. And I don't have to. I choose not to.
I've been asked, like, is there things that trigger me? Is there something that he does that sends me back?
That word alone triggers Rob.
There's a fucking... Okay, but for her there may be. But for alcoholics, there's no fucking triggers.
I don't have any triggers. But I will say one thing I noticed is there used to be a smell.
Oh.
The smell that would come off of him, the way the bedroom would smell, and I didn't realize how bad that bothered me until recently. I got that smell again and almost threw up.
Oh,
wow.
Someone else had that smell about them. And I did get angry. I was like, you know, I felt like I was going to throw that. I cannot handle that. I don't know how to explain it.
It's funny how just one or two things I can't even remember when, it doesn't matter in the timeline when this was, but Larry had a coworker who was fun, and we all went on a party bus for his birthday, and we went to a Giants game.
God, I forgot about
and
this.
And it was drinking.
I love this stuff.
From the moment that we met everyone else at the party bus to the very end, until the time we got off, honestly. There was Jell-O shots on the bus. There was little airplane bottles being passed around on the bus. There was all of these...
Weed.
Yes, there was lots happening, which at the moment, it was a fun day until it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that I can go to the Giants stadium again, because he nearly fell down a flight of stairs because he was so bad, and he nearly fell up as he was coming up to our stands, up to our seats, and he was just a mess. And I was unbelievably angry with him that he had gotten to that point. Like, why can't you control this? And it was just whatever was put in front of him, he was going to drink, or he was going to eat that Jell-O shot, or whatever. It didn't matter. And he could have cared less what was happening around him. Mm-hmm. And I was the one that was suffering for his actions. So we took, our grandson, Kane, is a huge Dodgers fan. And so we went to the Dodger Stadium this past year for his birthday. And walking down to our seats just brought back this horrible memory. Mm. But then it was also beautiful because I'm so thankful
to see how far he's come since then.
That's not something I have to worry about anymore.
Yeah.
Mm. I got a question. I'm going to read it. I love my book. I'm going to read a little bit. This is from the family afterwards.
You need a new book.
No. You know what they say?
That book is well loved.
Yeah. The head of the house ought to remember that he is mainly to blame for what befell his home. He can scarcely square the account in his lifetime. Since the home has suffered more than anything else, it is well that a man exert himself there. He is not likely to get far in any direction if he fails to show unselfishness and love under his own roof. You go back, this should remind you of page 19.
Fucking wrong.
We feel the elimination of our drinking is but a beginning. A much more important demonstration of our principles lies before us in our respective homes, occupations, and lives. So when you dropped him off over 3 years ago at Maynard's, I don't know if you foresaw the future, if you even daydreamed about what life could be in sobriety. If he is successful, did you see this where you're at today? And what did you imagine? What do you think about where you're at today?
When I dropped him off, I was hopeful. I was hopeful that he was going to embrace this, that he was going to learn something, and that he would come out better. And his journey at Maynard's was not easy. Mm-mm. And maybe it was a little bit self-inflicted, and the things in which, well, I mean, I'm trying to give him some grace.
Okay.
It was extremely self-inflicted.
Yeah, it was hard for me to hear him, and then he was cautious of what he was saying on the telephone, and there was no visits. There was no...
Oh, that's right, COVID. That's right.
Because of COVID. Well, really, we were kind of coming out of COVID at that point, but still, they had so many restrictions that there was no family visits. There was only phone calls, and that was it. And so I knew that I had a phone call with him about 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was for about 2 minutes, and that was it. And then he would call me later in the evening, and again, it would be about 2 minutes. And it was just because he was restricting like what he was saying, and he really didn't want to talk about too much. I could tell that he was frustrated, and I was very, very worried that maybe this wasn't going to be okay.
Do you remember hearing a change? Interesting. Do you ever remember hearing a change in my voice when I was at Maynard's?
Yeah, I did. You were still cautious of what you were saying, and there were some things that I think were happening there that you didn't want to talk about. You were still, which you shouldn't have there was some trouble with other people that were also in recovery there at the time that Larry was struggling with, and that was very hard for him, and he was trying to be kind, and it was very hard for him to be kind to specific people at that time. But
I just remembered who you're talking about.
this person graduated the same day as Larry. And I'm sitting in the car and he's having not very nice things to say as this person is loading their
that was a drama.
Their suitcase. Anyways, was there a change? Yes, there was. And I could tell that there was a marked change in him. But it was like 9 days before he was going to come home.
Yeah.
And then, and here's the other thing. There was, I can't recall what it was. I had to drive up there. And I remember speaking with a gentleman there.
Marty.
And I kind of feel conflicted on this one, but he kept saying that Larry hadn't bought into this program and he thought he was going to have to stay longer. And in my mind, I was like, wow, this just cost us a ton of money. And that we had to come up with this money very fast. And, you know, there was that burden of it. And I was like, oh my, and this man is now sitting here telling me that my husband is not being compliant and he's not doing what he needs to do. And he's not bought into this program and he's going to have to stay longer. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this is not going to go real well with anybody, with his job, you know, with his insurance, who probably isn't going to pay any more for him to stay. And then he's talking about him having to potentially go to sober living. And I thought, oh God, you know, this is all things that we did not prepare for. So how are we going to handle this? And, you know, me, I'm sitting here worried about these things. How is this all going to pan out? And it was probably 2 days later that I got a phone call from him, and it was night and day from what I had heard. And I thought, okay, maybe we're getting somewhere with this. But then I could tell it was more upbeat for the days following. And he was like, I didn't know if it was excitement that he was getting out to come home, because I knew that he really missed us and he really wanted to come home. But it was different. It was definitely different. And I think that's just when he finally bought into the program.
So when he got home and went to meetings, and then he kind of got disillusioned. Jay, I mean, I would say, but just because not the speed he was going. What did that look like?
Yeah, I think Larry is very 0 to 100.
Yeah,
true fact.
But I'm not much different, am I?
So, you know, he wants to get in there and he wants to know everything. He wants to get the knowledge. He wants to get the information. He wants to implement the tools, all of those things. He just wants to do it today. You know, I mean, and
no patience. It has to get done.
None.
Zero.
No chill whatsoever. Not even.
What do you nod your head about?
I get that.
Anyways.
From him or me?
You.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know what? Was I cautious? Very. But, you know, our outlook and attitude was, okay, no alcohol in the house. Like Pat McKenna and all other friends were still coming over, and they were all, let me tell you, the support that he had at home to come home to.
It was awesome.
It's amazing.
You know, and this is nothing against Miranda and Eric's friends, which are a separate set of friends who were also very supportive.
Still are.
Yeah, they are. Everybody is very respectful. But again, because Larry was out in the garage sitting with Pat and Kenna's friends and hanging out with them, and they loved Larry. Everybody loves Larry Bear. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves him, you know, and he was happy.
That's not dying anytime soon.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Doug started calling me that.
Yeah.
Larry Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can bring in another one, but.
Booger?
No.
That's high school.
Loco Larry.
Loco Larry, there you go.
He had many football players that called him Loco Larry. But anyways, you know, he had a whole cheering section waiting for him at home. All of their friends were happy and excited Larry was back. And it was a change. And we all kind of had to figure out, you know, how are we going to be around Larry? You know, no drinking, no alcohol in the house. And he set us all straight real quick, because he said, the alcohol is my problem. It's not your problem. And I don't want you not to have the alcohol in the house. I have to learn to live with it in the house.
From day one.
Day one. And we were, again, cautious, but you know, I had to have faith in him. And he always tells me I shouldn't have faith in him, but I do have faith in him. And I put my faith in him that he's going to make the right decisions and he's going to continue to walk this path of sobriety. And I have to believe him, even if he doesn't want me to have that faith in him.
I've seen a lot of couples that have had the relapse and stuff like that. That's one thing I'm grateful for.
Right.
I would not have stuck around through all that. I would not do the 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
I don't think I could either.
I would never.
I don't think I won't. I can
I
promise
would
you
never
that.
go back. I absolutely love what I have right now. In the home.
And you're so fortunate too, because you have been through this for so many more years than Larry and I have as well. And you've seen a lot of those, what do you guys call them? 2-steppers or something?
3-steppers.
Yeah. You know, or they're in and then they're out and they're in and they're out.
The hokey pokey drunk.
Hokey pokey.
I like the California sober ones.
Fuck them people.
Yeah. I like those ones. They make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Anyways,
she's being sarcastic.
I'm being very sarcastic.
You've seen the evolution of his walk in sobriety as well. So, and the people who have come in and the people who have gone out and the people who are maybe no longer with us.
She's had to really distance herself because a lot of the hard stories that you've heard.
Right.
She's had it in the families that get, I mean, there's been a lot of joy.
Right.
There's a lot of success, but all those, especially when the kids getting hurt, I don't share a lot of that stuff with her because she feels it. She's a mother.
And you shouldn't, right?
No.
I mean, I don't bring some of that stuff into Katie because it's not, you know, but I will share with her a lot of the successes that we see and have. One
more question for Katie. And I've asked this to Miranda and I've asked it to McKenna. The day Larry got like the #1 sponsor in the world, how did his life change?
Well, I was there at that Friday.
Oh, that's right.
Too.
You were. Katie did walk in.
I was there. And, you know, here,
again, this is sarcastic too.
I just fucking figured out what you're talking about.
You know, 0 to 100, Larry's going to, you know, go headlong into anything in which he's got sights on at that point. And so, yes, I was.
You were there.
I was there.
She was sitting right next to
me.
you.
It was a Friday
And I was behind you both.
Yeah. So, I was grateful, and Larry did take it seriously, that he did go to a meeting that very first night that he was home. And he had this whole plan. You know, I'm going to bring you every receipt for everything I buy. So, you know, I'm not buying anything other than what I said I bought. And if that made him feel better, then that was fine. But again, I had to believe that he was going to make the best choices. So he goes to a meeting and then he starts mapping out meetings. Same thing. And he was going to Saturdays at Jay's. He's going to, and I think he was getting a lot of it, but again, he wants to go from 0 to 100. And we went to that Friday meeting and he's maybe a month sober. I mean, I know. I mean,
I'd only been with Jay a couple times.
Technically, you were probably about 6 weeks out from the start of your day at Maynard's to where you were, and because Fridays are open meetings, so family can come, and so he was wanting me to go with him, which was totally fine. I was embracing this as well because it was really something that had to become part of our life, and so Jay and Jeanette are lovely, lovely people. And I'm grateful for the good work in which they do. And I really want to say they're like the head of that situation there. But they're so respected and very well loved. And I'm very grateful for them too. So, but yes, there was this guy who was there. And Jay said, "Oh, I want to make sure you meet Larry." And I remember turning and looking.
Rob.
And there's Rob. Oh. Really, the biggest blessing. I mean, you are like a little brother to Larry. But not... Be nice.
Literal.
Be nice. You got him to where he needed to be, for sure. You got him through the steps, which are very, very important. And... again, probably 0 to 100 because Larry wanted to get moving on them. And so I'm very grateful to you, but not only for being his sponsor and being one of his closest friends, you also brought your community and allowed him into that community too. And I've never heard my husband tell so many other men that he loves them because he loves Brad, Doug, Jason.
How could you not?
Mike.
Right.
There's so many men. Monday nights, Saturday mornings. And it's those meetings that he gets the most from. Oh, Aaron. Sorry, Aaron.
Don't forget Aaron.
And I'm sure there's more, and please forgive me. But there are, there's just random people that he's going up and talking to, which Larry doesn't meet any strangers. I mean, everybody's his friend. But here's this like, oh no, they're, Monday night men, But he gets more from those meetings than a traditional AA meeting.
Rob has actually commented a few times, like, we've gone to different churches. We like where we're at now, but being at different churches, he gets more out of the men.
Right.
In his...
Yeah.
He does.
Than he does anywhere else.
You have a brotherhood there that is so strong that you guys all make each other accountable. And there's some, Brad, that are very real and I love him for it because just like Rob, he tells Larry what's what and
keeps us right side.
Yes, exactly.
But the fact that God built that.
Oh God,
it's not me. I mean, God built.
And it's amazing. Yeah. And you know what? It makes me sad that there's some people in AA who don't have a community like Larry has. But
we all have, not just me. Yeah.
No, the Monday.
I know, but what I'm saying, the community in which you are in right now, that where you per se get fed the most is in your Monday night group and your Saturday mornings. Those are what are very important to you. But it's all men, and whether it's you can be real and raw or whatever, but they also keep you accountable. Oh, and they humble you in many, many ways.
Yeah. And we've talked about that group so many times on here, and it's, I love my AA meetings because, you're getting a different group of guys and you're getting a topic or you're getting, it's where we hear the serenity prayer. And like I said, I hadn't been to a Saturday morning meeting in quite some time. And last week when I was in there, we don't, because our Monday group is not an AA meeting. It's not. It's literally a group of guys holding each other accountable. We come in, we read, we talk, blah, blah, blah. But I hadn't been in an actual meeting, and I sat there and I started to say the serenity prayer in this group of, 15, 20 guys that's in there and Saturday morning. And after the first word, I had to stop and just stop and listen because it was just, I hadn't heard it in a meeting. And when you hear a group of people saying the serenity prayer, it literally just melts you, right? Because you so my point is to be in that AA meeting is important for me. To be in there and to hear that serenity prayer, to hear the topic coming in and to hear other people's perspective on the topic and to do all that. But that Monday night group, that's my boys. That's my boys. And
we don't have to, when you're in a regular, even if it's a meeting with men,
right? You're
tempered. Right. Not as much. In the Monday night group, we don't temper anything.
Nothing.
And if you're in a group if you're in a meeting with women, they temper it more than I do. But I still temper what I say because. Just because.
Hey, I'm going to start wrapping this up only because it's going in 2 hours, but I don't want to, I'm going to leave with an extremely important question to Bonnie and to Katie.
And I've got one for you after you're done.
The way we are now, which I feel like I was telling my sister this morning, I didn't learn how to love until I went through the steps. And Katie was like, well, that's weird. I go, no, I just didn't because I was just a selfish individual. I wasn't able to give of myself. And when I gave of myself, I was able to get love in return, something I had never felt before. Right. And I've said this, and Rob, the way I say it, Rob disagrees with, but not that I had to, but everything that I went through made me that God I didn't.
Everything that you
I've went through has made me the man I am today.
Absolutely.
Right? That has made me. Did I have to go through that stuff? Nope, I didn't have to, but I did. Right? Would you rather have the men you married or the men we are today?
Today, by far.
Oh, and
by far.
Undoubtedly. You know what? And I mean,
that's AA, baby.
It's God.
That's God in the steps.
Talk to me, Katie.
Yeah. I mean, I loved him then. I didn't like him for a period of time. And
I love that thing.
It has AA and him going through this. I don't think that Larry could have gotten sober on his own. I don't think that what we were doing here, I don't think that
because we're not equipped with it. We don't know how to.
And I honestly think that he had to have that total hiatus away from work, away from the stressors and everything else that was going on. I think that he had to truly focus on himself. I don't think that he could have done this. And I commend anybody who says, I just stopped drinking, but or maybe they
just took off into the rooms.
Took off into the rooms.
I need
something like that. Yeah. I mean, and good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome, and thank God that they're here, but again, I loved him then. I love him more now. I don't want him to go back. I don't want any of that. Larry? And I hate that other people have to go through what we've gone through. I do, and it makes me sad. But there's very bright days.
Just think of what they're going to have ahead in the future.
He wouldn't have had, Miranda got married 6 months after Larry.
Mm-hmm. And some of us boys got to be there. What a gift.
And how lucky he was to be able to walk her down. And for her too. Now McKenna is getting married in September.
I think this one is not that the love is different.
Emotionally, you are handling McKenna getting married better. Miranda was still fresh. You were still fragile because I don't know about. Well, you did say it. You were kind of fragile even in the beginning.
Yes, I was.
There, you had that fragility, and he was still. I don't want to say struggling because he was strong in some ways, but I think he was still searching for what the right fit was.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and things are still raw, and we don't know how to process a lot of it as it comes out.
My gratitude hadn't really hit home yet.
Not yet.
That 6 months, my gratitude, the depths of how grateful I am to be able to be a part of that, right? To know that I was and am still just one drink away, right? I mean, from losing all of that, right? I mean, if I went back to drinking, I would not come back. You and I have spoke this before. I wouldn't be back. I couldn't do it again. No, I won't do it again.
I'm sure I got another drunk in me. I do not have another recovery.
And I've told Katie this: if I decide to drink again, I'm going to quit my job, turn in my keys to my truck, sign everything I own over to her, kiss my kids goodbye, kiss my grandkids goodbye, go buy all the alcohol I can and go up in the hills and die. Because that's basically what I'm going to be doing anyways, right? But instead of doing it slowly, I'll do it quickly so they don't hurt as much, right? Because that's what's going to happen. And those thoughts come up about, that drink, I'm at 3, that
never say
3.
Only.
I know. And I always think about the guys that 5 to 7, right? That we always talk about that 5 to 7, 5, right in there. Yeah. And I think as long as I stay involved and as long as I stay in there, I don't have that, right?
That's what I did.
I don't, Jason Ryan talked about, he was struggling with it a little bit.
Well, he had heard it.
He had heard it.
And he's like, man, I need to redouble.
He doubled down, right?
And he did. And that's what you do.
And you see a lot of these guys that go back out and try it again.
Because life got good.
Right. It's right around that 5 to 6, right?
Yeah.
So when the thought process goes in my head, well, maybe I couldn't. No, fuck that. No, because I remember what the second thought, right? The first thought don't hurt you. That's the second thought that's going to hurt you, right? But Pat always says that. anyways, I don't know why I went down that road, but you said you were going to ask me a question.
Yeah. I've asked it on 50, 51. Do you love your wife?
Can see he does.
I know.
He's talked about me a lot on here, just little.
And that's what we usually get. I got to break in and I got to, I bring up your name so I can fucking talk sometimes.
I'm very blessed, and ties back to what I want him, the man that I married, at the man that I have now, and the man that I have now, because I feel more appreciated now than I did before. Not that I was taken for granted, but I think it's just you become complacent in relationships sometimes, and you just accept what you have and what will always be, and it's different. And there was a period of our life when I was doing things independently, and I would just, we don't live close to anything. We're 20 minutes from a Target, hey, I need to run and get paper towels and I have to go do this. Do you want to come with me? And he would say no, because he just wanted to stay home and drink. Uh-huh. And I had just become independent and I was just doing my own thing. Mm-hmm. And then when he came home and, his journey was different because he was doing meetings and he was going, Saturday morning, he was going off and going to a meeting here, and he was doing this and doing that. And there was always something tied to a meeting, but I didn't complain because I knew what he needed. I knew for him to be successful, he had to be in these meetings. And now it's not, we were in San Diego and Larry was finding a meeting. We were in, I think it was Monterey. Larry was finding a meeting. There was, I think it's
you can
great.
Tell when they need them.
You do.
You can tell when they need them.
It's like a little tune-up.
Yes,
but and it has nothing to do with drinking. It just has to do with being restless.
For me, it's just being around my people, right?
But I sponsor so many men. Like I'm doing 3 right now, so I can't hit as many meetings. But that is
right.
My meeting.
Yeah, but those are a mini meeting in itself.
Actually, they're better.
But there's been times when you've been really busy at work.
Oh yeah.
Before cancer, before you took this other position, where you've been super busy at work.
Yep.
And he'll come home, every day, and then finally about Thursday, hey Rob, I think you need to go to a meeting. We both need you to go to a meeting. They just get so.
See,
just wound up.
I don't know if
you need that release.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever gotten to that. I've said this.
Well, there's been times I would because we're working night by a plant like where Brad's at.
Right,
your hot plant's going night and day.
Right,
you're working 14 to sometimes 16 hours. That's when I had a different boss, so we could do that. And I just didn't have time. Right. Homework, and then when she would say that. I better go. I better listen and go.
I know when I'm traveling, gone, I've hit meetings, on the road but it's to be around my people, right? It's never, and I've said this, you've heard me say this, you fucker, you had to do it, didn't you?
I used to say it. I just heard it. I heard him solo. You see,
it's so hard to get that out too. So
don't try.
About 3 or 4 weeks into me coming home, I remember calling Katie, and you guys have heard me say this multiple times, but I remember calling Katie when I left primary, and I was about halfway home, and I just told her, I said, I have to find a different balance. This isn't working for me. I miss you. I want to be home with you. I didn't get sober to be sitting in a fucking meeting somewhere.
Right.
I want to be with you. Right. If I need to get a meeting, I'm going to get to a meeting. Right. If I need to be of service, I'm going to be of service. This podcast for me is a ton of service for me.
And it's healing for us.
It is. If I'm not recording, I'm working on how to make it better. I'm constantly doing something with the podcast and this. So I embed myself in here. And if I'm very fortunate that I have a wife that if I need to sit and talk with her, she will talk with me. Right. I don't think I ever opened up to her when I was drinking.
I'm sure you didn't.
But now I don't even think about it.
I just sit down and we start talking, right? And it leads to just to amazing conversations. The conversations that her and I have had in my sobriety, there's shit that people should talk about before they even get married, right? Talking about stuff that, well, that would have been nice to know 34 years ago, or, just talk, and you asked me a question, and I'm sorry that it gut checks me, because the answer is astonishing. I can't even begin to tell you, before I got sober, before I did all this stuff and learning to stop and loving myself so much and being so selfish, I never got jealous. I didn't. I never got jealous, right? I mean, my wife is amazingly beautiful. Once again, outkicked my coverage by a long shot. And, she would always get hit on in bars, and she'd always people commenting on her and this and that. And it would always I'd always say, hey, take your chances, right? It was never, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm jealous now, right? I am. I just, the thought of her running away with another man, it's something, anything.
We finally love someone more than ourselves.
Oh my God. The love I have for her is just, and it's not a bad jealousy, because it makes me want to do more for her. Right. And when I say that, I know my limitations on what I can physically do is extremely diminishing.
We're getting there.
It breaks my fucking heart.
We'll get there.
Because I don't want somebody else to come in this house. I don't want another man to come in here to do a fucking thing. This is my house. This is my wife. I'll do it for my wife, but I'm getting to a point where I can't do it no matter what I do, Rob. And I just got back from my hip doctor on Friday. I may just be at a point in my time. This is the best it's going to get. And I'm starting to come to that. Okay. Right. But it fucking sucks, because more now than ever, I want to do for her. Right. I don't want to go outside and fuck around for myself and drink a beer while I'm mowing the lawns or doing this shit. I want to do for her, and do for her as much as I can. But now I'm fucking limited on what I could do. It's frustrating, but you know what? God's working with me on that. And I'm learning to let go of that a little bit. And I've worked a lot of the steps on my own to work through that, because, I could call you and talk to you about it, but, and I've done a lot of this, and I don't suggest this to a lot of people, but I can talk to somebody that's a non-alcoholic and get what I need from them. Yeah. Right. I could talk to somebody. I know I've talked to my boss multiple times on stuff, and he's just got good wisdom and knowledge back to me.
Man shit.
Yes, right? It's exactly what it is. It's more man shit than anything else, right? Anyways, so the answer to your question, my heart is overwhelmed with love for not only her, but my daughters. And why
our capacity
has grown. Oh, and then why I get more emotional now for McKenna is because my gratitude has grown so much. Yeah. Right.
And a year from now, it'll be deeper.
Oh yeah.
And deeper.
Anyways.
And deeper.
Well, shit. Katie, how you feeling, baby?
I'm all right.
This was good.
You feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You want to add anything?
No, I mean, I don't know.
Any advice for a lady that's watching her husband?
Don't give up. In the hopes that they get better, and support their journey outside of their sobriety. What their, the meetings, the need for a meeting, if they need to go and talk to somebody or go and help somebody, because that really does make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Helping someone, walking through that. But you're also not alone out there. There's a lot of us that have had to weather the storm in different ways. Bonnie's is definitely different than mine. That's for sure. I'm grateful that your kids don't remember or see.
I am very grateful.
And there's
for
not
that.
a lot of amends that Larry had to make to the girls or even to our boys in regards to this. And I'm thankful that our grandkids will never know that drink. There's none of that he has to worry about. But he also, when our youngest granddaughter was born, he was sober. And it was honestly for him
Oh, he was a wreck. Well, it was a good wreck. I mean, he was, I'm just wreck. Grateful, but it was, again, that just gratitude. He goes, he told us
he could embrace the whole.
Feel it.
Yeah. Feel it.
Feel it. And I hear people say it, and I still go through it, right? Mm-hmm. Where you go through a period of you want to stab yourself so you can feel something.
Yeah, buddy.
Right. You understand?
Anything.
And there's just that, when you get to that point, I literally was just thinking this the other day. I mean, and it's so hard to explain to somebody that has never felt that, right? Because when you're fighting depression or you're fighting something and you just can't feel, you don't have any joy, you don't have any pain, you don't have any sunshine, there's just nothing there. You just you feel like you need to cut yourself to feel something, And when I saw it, only about when was she born? August?
Who?
Everly.
Everly? She's April of 2023.
Yeah, so I was a year sober. Yeah. So yeah, it was. Wait, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
Everly was at Miranda's wedding.
Yeah, she was.
So I was over a year sober when Miranda got married. For some reason, I was thinking no, because yeah. So yeah, I was over a year when just over a year. So yeah, it was just so I was the feeling that I had when she was born. It was just I hadn't felt that. I watched my grandson and come into this world, and I was probably several deep, when I saw that. My granddaughter, same thing. My second grandson or grandchild.
Your first granddaughter.
My first granddaughter. So, and then I went and got recovered, went and got sober, and then to watch Everly come into this world and to watch my daughters, and my son-in-law, and watch that joy come into them. Talk about feeling every ounce of it. It was incredible.
I don't know if either of the girls talked about this, but when Larry was in Maynard's, it's kind of hard. I mean,
camping. Yeah, Miranda,
you ruined it.
Go ahead.
Kane. Gosh, I think he was in kindergarten, if I recall, maybe first grade, but it doesn't matter. But Kane loves his papa, and Kane, I said, Papa was not home, and the best explanation that was given to him was Papa was camping. So Papa has a bunch of camping friends, and so y'all are his campers.
It's enjoyable now because Kane understands what I do. He understands
at 10. He's very proud of his papa and knows, and Claire, who is 6, almost 7, she talks about it too. And not that alcohol is bad. They know that alcohol is not a bad thing. They just know that sometimes some people aren't good with it.
So Kane is,
and Kane knows that he's helping people.
Yeah, he's actually talked to me about people that I've helped, and it's just, it's enjoyable. I don't know. Anyways.
You brought up something, though, about being in, before you ask her. I want to share something with my wife.
Okay, good.
I never made this connection until now. You brought up about how we are in our addiction, in the alcoholism, we're kind of inside battling. And I talked about early sobriety when you start feeling, but that internal, that time struggle was just like, remember when the chemo hit me the first time? And I'd be in here and I'd be in my own mind, but I couldn't get out. That's what early sobriety was like.
That was hard to watch.
Man, I was fortunate I didn't go through that. I just don't remember. I did not go through that.
No, you didn't.
I did not.
I didn't. And
every time I hear you talk about it, it just breaks my heart.
You and I we'll talk later afterwards why it was that way. I'll tell you why it was that way for me and why I go through great lengths to do the way I do it. So men don't have to suffer that way. That's why I do what I do the way I do it. One, because the old timers did the book, but and that I'll tell you, but I don't want to hurt anybody anyway. That's what it was like for me.
AA talks about your higher power, which ours is Our Lord and Savior.
Jesus.
So, yes. And I think there's so many people who are in the rooms sitting in some of those meetings where that's not theirs.
No.
You know, and whatever they want to believe in. Yeah. Whatever they want to believe in is what they want to believe in. But not only has Larry's faith gotten stronger through this whole process, it's the graciousness of God in our life and what we have been given, what we've been able to do.
Promises, baby.
Yeah.
Promises.
Can't outgive God.
But it's what he's given back to us for his faithfulness as well. You know, and that's where my faith had to be in him to get through it, because I don't think that we would have had we not. And also the people who surround you, you know what? And it may not be your siblings. It may be your cousin, and it could be somebody who's not actually blood related to you, who you rely on, who are your greatest supporters, but who love you hard during those hard times.
I like that quote. I love hard. I know what you mean.
You need those people in your life.
Yes, you do.
And sometimes they come from the most unexpected places.
That's a God thing.
Amen. Amen. So yeah, the journey kind of sucked for a while, but it's pretty good.
You want to ask her anything?
You said you were going to ask her a question.
Who?
You said you were going to ask your buddy.
No, I just wanted to share that with her because I wanted her to kind of, because it's hard to put into words, but she understands the cancer and
Right.
what the chemo did to me.
Yeah. I was going to do the same thing as I asked Katie. Do you got advice for, and I'm going to ask you a twofold, right? Because I feel like you battled 2 battles with your husband. Do you got advice for women that are going through it and the cancer?
Well, she doesn't have to talk about the cancer if she doesn't
Or
want to.
or
You
broken
get a
leg.
pass.
Well,
I don't
advice for women.
suggest people do what I did.
With alcoholism or?
No, with the
The
cancer thing.
No.
Like I said, I shoved it down.
Yeah, but sometimes when we scratch that surface, it hurts more.
Yeah.
That's why
I don't like to talk about it. Don't bring it up. If you don't mention it,
Right.
I'm fine.
I don't want to do
think
this.
about it.
I
It's
can't
when
even
people
tell you how many
want-
times I've said, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
It's when people want to
Rob's
talk
harassed
about
me.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if another
Come on, kid.
If another woman came up to you and said, I know your husband, or I heard in the rooms that your husband went through cancer. My husband's getting ready to go through the same thing he did. Would you not talk to her?
Of course I would.
Even though it would scratch?
Of course I would. I'm not going to tell her what I went through. I'm going to tell her, you expect this, this.
Right. That makes sense.
But I'm not going to.
Give her your personal feelings.
No, because I don't think that's helpful for somebody. Don't do what I did, because I'm sure in like 20 years I'll be all screwed up from it. And need some therapy, and
I'll send her to Maynard's.
My 30-day retreat.
Yeah.
I get my vacation.
My turn.
Get it.
My turn, goddammit.
I mean, it would be
I'm not
nice
gonna lie, when
if
I
it was
went
like
up
on
there-
the beach in Mexico or something. That would be a much better 30-day
Yeah.
retreat.
I don't know. When I went up there and saw those little cabins, a little lake, I was like, you bitch. You bitch. I want to stay in that one, and I want to go have a campfire.
Yeah, well,
right
you got
there,
it. You
and
got it before.
He was like, yeah, it's not as. Yeah.
8 hours of sitting in class ain't heaven.
No,
I had a great experience from the second. I almost left the second day but the crier Julie saved me. The third day I met Chris, and then from then I was on a roll.
Yeah, that took me about 18 days to get to that point.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I was trying to fucking control everything about it. Rob, hey, end of a year, brother.
End of a year.
Yeah.
Here, I'll drink to that.
Yes, sir. That is that. From the
Listen to me swallow.
Drink Monster to
you know, we're gonna come back, and the wives are gonna come back, and we're gonna kind of for number 53, which is we're gonna record again. And we're going to review the last year. We're going to talk about it a little bit.
You got some notes?
Yeah, I got some notes. We're going to do some highlights, do some update from some of the guests, right? And go through that. The wives, it'll be a little bit funner one. I'm done with this family shit, but I'm telling you.
That's good.
I don't know.
done
Me
with
and
it.
Katie might do our own and just make fun of you guys for a couple hours.
Dude, I'm telling you, between the three, what it's done internally for the family has been amazing. What it's done for our listeners has been amazing. What it's done for the podcast is God only know, because I feel like he's starting to work in ways that It hasn't.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. Anyways, but we're going to come back and talk about that.
Okay.
But we're going to get on out of here.
Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in. Take care.
This has been Recovery Unfiltered.